One thing I think we're seeing right now in the economy is this required rate of return going up. But it also means as organizations, we're expecting more return on our cash.
For a few years with interest rates at effectively zero, and now with bank interest, you could be earning 4, 5, 6%. It is worth thinking about.
We wanted to introduce Ruby Ratepayer today. An average household has an income of about 140. Not only does she have a home loan, but she has a number of other costs, including kids, a pet, a car loan. After just her mortgage alone, she's left with $4,100 for other expenses, right? Which is pretty alarming. And a lot of us would probably relate to this. What we call this amount is the disposable income.
Yeah, we see wages growing slightly, but real gross income going down because of inflation and because of the cost of everything else.
Do you know your average rates in the dollar figures? Ruby would face a bill of about $3,500, right? This introduces a concept of rates as a proportion of disposable income. It's an extremely helpful indicator to know just how much financial stress your community is in. On average, we see that 20 to 25% is a target, but in this case, for an average person, already we're seeing when you bill them for their rates, it just totally destroys that monthly stability for them. So it leads us to talk about how we can address this or what we can do. And I think in order to do so, we need to look at the types of payments that currently occur around the country.
And the important thing to think about here is that if somebody pays you annually, and they pay by this date, then the prepayment window you've missed. But if they do pay quarterly, so then you'd think, oh, well, that's better than we get the prepayments. Just remember they're paying at the end of the quarter, which is that installment date. They're not paying you before. So there's still a period of time where you're not having prepaid rates. And just to illustrate that, if you compare that council to different options where they then offer, say, monthly payments, assuming that there's 3 months in each of those periods, your payments are made throughout the quarter, but by the end of that quarter, they've all been paid. So you get the benefit of 2 payments ahead of the schedule, and it's these 2 payments that are then earning that bonus interest. Similarly, if you do fortnightly, the benefit here is you've got all this payment and all this time to earn the bonus interest because the money's come in earlier. DW's got some great maths to show how sort of this filters through, because on the micro level, one rates notice is not a lot of money. Across millions and millions of dollars, the bonus interest can add up to millions of dollars.
Now that her amount that she's paying has shifted far down with a monthly installment, so that rates over disposable income ratio has improved so much. Shifting it to less than 10% means now that this is an easy, more transactional thing, right? Versus a stress, like a payment shock event.
Yeah, anything that's taking 87% of your monthly disposable income is an awful thing to have. Whereas when it's 10%, it's easy to budget, it's stress-free, and importantly for councils, it's better for councils too.
In principle, we should be doing this because it makes the lives of the ratepayers easier, but there is something that we can all benefit from. If they have 40 million rates and 20% of people paid in this way, what would the impact to the budget be? And if we look at monthly installments alone, that's $170,000 in bonus interest that's coming in. And there's a compounding interest effect the higher the frequency.
Logically, it's right. The more frequent that you get paid, the more time you have to earn interest on that greater frequency, but also the smaller the amount it is for the ratepayer, and that's good for their budgeting. So that's really why we like weekly and fortnightly payments, because the interest benefits add up.
It's not just limited to councils with that 20 to 40 mil in rates. A larger council with 150 mil in rates, this starts to become serious money. This is almost $1 million worth of bonus interest that's accrued. The reason for this is to help provide that business case to the executive around why this needs to be done and why it's important to optimize it. There is one trend here that you can use to see if there's a problem that doesn't require anything that's unorthodox, and that's simply seeing how many late payments have occurred. And is that trend increasing or decreasing year over year?
We look at this, which is called the Payble customer pyramid. And with Payble, we're trying to help all customers but we're also trying to help those who want more flexibility and then those who are in financial stress, because those are the leading indicators as to whether someone ends up in arrears or requests help or in collections. And the important thing is you don't prevent people getting here by just stopping them when they're here, when they actually request help. You actually need to prevent them when it's further up the funnel, which is by getting people into more flexibility before they end up in financial stress. The key thing for prepaid rate is council encouraging it. And encourage really just means, is it marketed the right way? Is it really, really easy? But I'd say just because something is available doesn't mean it's something that people will use and understand. We've got councils now above 30% doing this. I think the numbers that we've got here are very, very achievable when it's done right.
It's very realistic if you're a council in the hundreds of millions to have in excess of 1.3 to 1.5 million in bonus interest a year just from this shift alone, which is extremely powerful.
How do you actually deliver this effectively in a way that's good for council and a way that resonates with the ratepayer? When you think of a payment experience platform, all of this should be online. There needs to be council branding, and it needs to be a web experience where council has control over the payment journey, not say the bank process, and the user can use that to understand and enroll in the right schedule or the calculated payments that they want. Secondly, it needs to support both bank account and card. So the reason why councils can't do this today is because you're not PCI compliant. So you need to use a service like Payble that can make all this work, unless you've instituted sort of a tokenization method where you're manually running schedules, which is a bit of effort. Some councils have done that and they just deal with the paperwork, but most councils use a service like Payble to offer that. And importantly, any process that you run, so looking at these forms needing to be typed into the property and rating system, should sync automatically with PNR. So no one needs to manually handle those requests. Everything's updated automatically. So your revenue team's saving a whole bunch of time. And the final bit, of course, is personalized communications and SMS reminders, keeping your community on track, letting them know what's coming up. But also, if something goes wrong, like a dishonor, reschedule the payment and let the customer know the retry date, and then give that ratepayer the ability to change that if they need to.